Police narcotics officer Gerald Goines is now in the hands of a Harris County jury. This is KPRC2 News at 6. Thank you for joining us. I'm Daniela Guzman. Keith Garvin is off. 12 jurors began deliberating more than 3 hours ago. Gerald Goines is accused of murdering Dennis Tuttle and Regina Nicholas during a botched raid in 2019. This case is the focus of our multi-platform series called The Bench. KPRC2's Mario Diaz has been covering the trial from the beginning, and he's live now outside of the courtroom. Mario, it's getting pretty late in the afternoon. Is the jury still deliberating?
They are not, Daniela. They went home about 30 minutes ago. The judge in this case, Veronica Nelson, has them working every day between 10:30 and 5:30, and she plans to continue to do that with their deliberations. Gerald Goines' future during closing arguments today was presented in two distinct ways. From the state's perspective, they made him out to be a lying killer who, as they described, massacred Dennis Tuttle and Regina Nicholas. On the other hand, the primary theme for the defense was that Dennis and Regina were violent drug users and potentially drug pushers, and they actually were unlawful when they shot police officers as they came in to their home back in January of 2019. Keep in mind here that the prosecutors also reminded the people inside the courtroom and the jury that, hey, you had Gerald Goines continue to plant evidence on Dennis Tuttle and Regina Nicholas, meaning lie, even when he was in the hospital. Let's take you to some of the closing arguments from both sides.
You have an option to end this madness today. And that option is, when you go back into that jury room, to find Gerald Goines not guilty of murder, because he is not the cause of the deaths of Regina Nicholas and Dennis Tuttle. And I would submit to you that if you are mad at Gerald Goines, there are other consequences.
Let me ask this question. When an officer lies and he forces a group of armed peace officers into a home, and those officers knock down the front door and they shoot first and kill the family dog, and then they shoot and kill an unarmed wife, and then they shoot multiple times into the back of the husband, one through the back of his head and out of his mouth. Who's responsible? Is it us, the homeowner, or is it the liar that set this all up?
An innocent man sent to prison and then exonerated faces the former HPD cop who put him behind bars.
Well, sentencing for the now convicted murderer Gerald Goines is underway, with several people expected to take the stand.
ABC 13's Maya Shea joining us from downtown Houston with what was said today. Maya?
Well, the most riveting testimony came within the last hour or so, and that is when Otis Mallett, a man who went to prison based on Gerald Goines' lies, took the stand on the prosecution side, hoping to send the man who sent him to prison away for a long time. Otis Mallett Jr. walked into court this afternoon to testify against Gerald Goines, the former Houston police officer who lied to send Mallett, an innocent man, to prison for drugs he never had. And now Mallett's testimony could bolster the prosecution's efforts to send Goines to prison for a very long time.
It's been a long wait to see justice and see him get what's coming to him.
James Ybarra was glad to see Mallett and others on the stand. He too spent time behind bars because Goines accused him of having drugs. He came to watch the former narcotics officer's sentencing phase after Goines was convicted of felony murder just a day ago. Did you think he was going to be found guilty?
I really didn't, but I'm so happy that the justice for the Tuttles are coming together, and through the grace of God, everybody family-wise is getting peace to sleep tonight.
Today was the first day that jurors got to hear about other questionable cases involving Goines after he was found guilty in the murder of Regina Nicholas and Dennis Tuttle during the botched Harding Street raid. Those family members are expected to testify later on as prosecutors begin to paint a picture of a narcotics cop who lied for decades and, according to the courts, put a number of innocent people behind bars.
We have new developments tonight in a story you saw first on 2 after we obtained the autopsy reports for the couple who was killed in that botched HPD raid on Harding Street.
Yeah, we broke the story first this afternoon on click2houston.com. Channel 2 Sophia Beausoleil is joining us live tonight outside HPD headquarters downtown. Sophia?
After nearly 100 days after the botched raid, we have learned that the couple died inside of their home of multiple gunshot wounds. Our investigations team obtained the toxicology report as well, which shows that Dennis Tuttle had cannabis in his system and his wife, Regina Nicholas, had a metabolite associated with cocaine in her system.
He had a few exit wounds, but his entrance wounds were mostly on the front of his body.
Eric Davis is the Felony Trial Division Chief at the Harris County Public Defender's Office. As an attorney who's tried many homicide cases over the last 25 years, he's seen his share of autopsy reports.
The head, the neck, the left forearm, he was shot all over.
Davis is looking at the medical examiner's report of 59-year-old Dennis Tuttle, who was shot 9 times during the botched raid in January.
They did a full workup on him in a sense of having an anthropology report. They did a couple of consultants about some microscopic injuries as well. It's a very thorough autopsy report in regards to his.
The 51-page report shows illustrations of multiple bullet wounds after the couple was shot and killed inside their Southeast Houston home on Harding Street. HPD narcotics officers executed a no-knock warrant. 4 officers were also shot during the raid. The shooting has led to a massive investigation. Former officers Gerald Goines and Stephen Bryant are facing accusations of providing false information to get a warrant. During the shooting, 58-year-old Regina Nicholas suffered 2 gunshot wounds to the chest and thigh, along with bullet fragments wounds to the leg. In a statement, her family's attorney says in part, quote, "The autopsy report confirms a growing list of troubling questions about the conduct and claims of HPD before, during, and after the out-of-control and unjustified attack." The attorney for Dennis Tuttle's family says in part, quote, "We probably have more questions today than we did yesterday, and the family is reeling from this report. They knew Dennis as a peaceful, nonviolent, and loving man. This report only increases their concerns about why the police came to his house and shot him and his wife like this." And Davis told us from his perspective, he thinks the next step is for the district attorney to look at this evidence, the autopsy report, along with the investigation that's ongoing, which includes interviews with the police officers and other witnesses. And he thinks that at that point it'll go before a grand jury, and it'll be up to the grand jury to make a decision whether or not charges should come down on anybody. But again, that's just his opinion as of right now as to what's possibly next in this investigation.
Clause number 1862491. We, the jury, find the defendant, Gerald Goines, guilty of the felony murder as charged, signed by the foreperson of the grand jury. Foreperson of the jury. Clause number 1862492. We, the jury, find the defendant, Gerald Goines, guilty of felony murder as charged, signed by the foreperson of the jury.